In this video, you'll catch up on the new functions for the native Node.js test runner. I'll show you the test suite functions that came up to help us to better test Node.js applications without any other test runners, such as Jest, Mocha, Tap, or similars. You also get to know the new API to track function calls and functions to take snapshots using only the Node.js built-in modules. Hello my friend, I'm Eric Wendell, and today I brought something special about the new Node.js features focused on unit testing. We are gonna build an application to emulate some operations on database, in which we will use important testing concepts such as mocks, spies, and stubs. Are you excited about this? So let's begin. Hey, don't forget to leave your like on this video and subscribe to this channel. I've been publishing a lot of videos every week here and also publishing blog posts on my LinkedIn. You can find all my social media links here on the video description so you can get in first hand all the new content I've been creating. Recently, I became a Node.js collaborator, which means that I'm getting even closer to the project, where I review pull requests, attend important meetings in working groups, and much more. Colin was the one who created the first proof of concepts for the Node.js test runner, and 4 months ago, it was published as experimental, and it has been changing a lot since then. I've tried helping by suggesting and implementing new ideas. I implemented an idea to track function calls as Sinon does on the assert module. There was a function, the callTracker calls, that makes sure a function was called properly. I tried to implement a new function to not only count the function calls, but also track the arguments on each call. So I came up with the calls with function. So I created this PR and then I took vacations with my wife. Well, when I came back, I got a lot of interesting ideas on the pull requests. And Mocha, the most active collaborator on the Node.js test runner nowadays, said he had implemented the feature but with a different design. I honestly thought it was way better than what I thought. He introduced 2 functions to the callTracker, getCalls and reset. Instead of introducing a new function to perform 2 actions, track calls and assert arguments, he kept the old function and added a helper to inspect the call details. So I closed my pull request and I approved his. This feature was released on the Node.js 18.8 and today we're gonna use it a lot. Not only the assert module got new functions, but also the test runner with describe, it, after, before it, and a lot of new functions, identical to the ones we have on other modules, such as Jest, Mocha, and others. It's time to check it out in practice, right? So get a drink and let's begin. Well, I'm using here the Node.js 18.8, so you should use the same version as me. So you're gonna see all these new functions with me. All right, so let's begin. First of all, I'm gonna create a folder here called src, and then I'm gonna initialize our project, all right? So just make sure we are gonna use always ECMAScript modules. So I'm gonna put here module. And then I'm gonna create a database file, all right? So the goal here is to simulate the database calls and we can intercept functions from this point, all right? So I'm gonna export a function, or actually a class, database. Very straightforward, nothing too complicated, so we can see our test running, all right? So I'm gonna use set because it has a different data structure. So we can have our data here. I will add to the database this data, all right? And I'm gonna create another one to read, just 2 ones, all right? And I'm using promises here because when we are consuming data from the database, we usually have promises. So I'm trying to simulate the same thing, all right? So I'm gonna have the whole data from the database. Oh, it's missing a dot here. Database dot values. Just it, all right? So let's create our test database.test.js, all right? So the first thing we have here is node-test. So when we run this, it will try to run all the functions. But you can see it just found my code right there. All right. So I'm gonna put on our test here, node test. Perfect. And as you can see, the output is actually a tap output. All right. This is cool for us because we can install some formatters and we can get the result like prettier. All right. Nice. So let's get started. First of all, let's import some modules from our node test. So from there, I will get the describe and it. All right. Then I will go importing also from our node assert. I'll grab the deep strict equal and just it for now. All right. Let's import the database we just created. So it's JS as well. And then let's start. So I'm gonna call this test suite as using native test suite, test runner suite. It's very similar to what we've been doing in other frameworks. All right. So first of all, we could have to-dos. All right. So some test I wanna do in the feature, as we see in Jest regularly. So I'm gonna run npmt. All right. So everything is running, everything is passing. But however, I would say we should install a library here so we can see those results better. So it's tap spec. All right. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm using tap spec in the 5. All right. So if you are trying to install 6, try actually using 5 as I've been doing. All right. So I'm gonna get this result and actually send to the tap spec. So let's run npm test. And now you can see that it's a bit different, right? However, I'm not sure if it's a bug with the tap spec or if something on the node test. But if we go to the database here, .test.js, we can see that the output is different, right? Right now, we can see more results and more data as well. I'm not sure why, but from this example, I'm gonna use directly the test, all right? Perfect. So here we have a to-do. We could have skip as well. So we can use skip. I wanna skip. All right. So you can see we have all these ideas right there. So it's pretty useful for everything that we are trying to do. All right. First of all, I'll try to simulate what usually we do when working with tests and databases. All right. So I'm going to create a variable here. And then I'm going to import the before each from the Node.js test runner. So the idea is we're going to reset the instance every time. All right. So new database. I think it's better to, because if you want to put more operations before each function, you could have as well. All right. So before each test, we are just resetting the whole instance. Perfect. What else? Well, we could have before each, before all, after, and so on. But I'm going to use it for now. All right. Nice. Let's create our to-do list. So it should save data on DB. All right. And the other one, actually just this one for now. All right. If I run this code, we can see that everything's working fine. Our to-dos are there. All right. So for this test, I'm going to do something like integration test right here. So what could we do? Await db.create, and I'm gonna send name Eric. All right. After it, I'm gonna grab the data. So I'll wait db.read, and then I will make sure with dip strict equal our data it's exactly this data we just sent. All right. So I'm gonna run, and it's not passing. Why it's not passing? Because it returns an array, right? So we're gonna grab only the first one. Or actually we could get the whole array from there. Perfect. The test is passing right now. And you can see that it's a bit different, right? The results we have to do, skip, and our actually test is working fine right now. All right, let's make things more complicated. What if we want to try checking whether our tests were calling these functions, right? When we are using databases, repositories, and so on, we usually track the functions. So we're gonna do it natively, all right, without installing anything. Perfect. So let's create our tracking calls. All right, so first of all, we're gonna import here from our assert the call tracker. All right, and then I'm gonna call it tracker, new tracker. Perfect. So now we're gonna spy our functions. All right, so we're gonna try counting how many times it was called and so on. So calls, and then our database, instead of using the create and read from there, I'm gonna actually replace it. We're gonna stub it, right? We're gonna change the functions. So when we have add, we're gonna use our spy. All right. So every time our db.create we use add, actually it's calling our spy function. All right. It's very likely other frameworks we're gonna use. All right, right now I'm gonna use name Eric, ID 2, and then let's call our create using our data. Actually, we could have something like sending via spread. All right, so we're gonna have on the first argument a string, and the second the data. Okay. All right, but actually I think it's better just the object, right? So we don't mix up the types, because we are doing this way right here. All right, once we call our create, we should wait that this create function we're gonna call the add, right? Perfect. So how do we do that? First of all, we can get the tracker.getCalls. All right, if we console this result, we can see here it's not a tracked function. I think we have to send an empty function here. Let's check. Here we have to pass the spy. All right, so now we have this arg. All right, so this is the context, and we have all the arguments used to call this function. So I'm not sure if it will work, but let's try stringifying so we can see the logs better. So yeah, here the arguments was all the data that we just sent. Very nice. So now I'm gonna construct this object. So it returns an array, right? And the first is this argument. All right, and I'm gonna grab, because I think here got the add. All right, so I'm gonna get this add, then I will get the arguments and I will call it fn args. All right, from our tracker. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna assert that our add is actually our database.add, all right? Because we just changed it. So let's try running our tests, and it's working, all right? Our test is passing, fine, perfect. Which other thing we could do? Well, we could check if the arguments, fn args, were actually an array with our data, because it will receive all the arguments, right, as a list. So let's check it out, and it's working fine as we expected. Very nice. Well, we could reset it. So tracker.reset, and then we can try calling it as well. We could do actually the tracker.getCalls already. Get calls with our spy, and actually we could have the length equals 0, right? Which means it was resetted. So let's run again. The test is passing fine. Very nice, isn't it? So we have get calls, reset, and we can actually spy our functions, right? Getting all the results. Very nice. Well, the last thing I want to show you are snapshots. So snapshot. So we could actually create copies of our code, save the output in a file, just checking if we are trying to create some interface or something that is pretty hard to test. So we can save the whole data there. So look at this. I'm going to use db create. All right. Name Chapolin, and then I'm gonna grab the result. All right, so I'll wait db read, and then look how nice is it. From our assert, we're gonna have the snapshot. Now look how amazing is it. We're gonna use snapshot. We're gonna have our data, right? I could call it data as well, just to avoid misunderstanding. And then we can have a name for it. So data. So when we run this code, we can see that it generates a new function for us. And we can see the whole result right there, all right? Well, what if I change this value to 2 and run the test again? We can see that as the snapshot is different, it just say, oh, you've done something wrong there, and you shouldn't do that. All right, this is very nice. But if you are not familiar with the concepts of the snapshots, you are just saving the output, running all the features that you want. You save them all on a file, and then you compare them. All right, perfect. Well, we could also try formatting this code. So you could use a string file with data, and I would say db data formatted. All right, if you are trying to create interfaces. So in this case, we could remove our snapshot and run it again. All right, so now we have the snapshot and see that it's breaking lines, right? So we can have a lot of data on the snapshot, and if you're running again and again, it won't change our snapshot. All right, so this is very good for interfaces and something that it's pretty complex to test. All right, I left here in the video description a bunch of links for you to follow me after this video. There, I also left my training courses in Portuguese, and some of them I'm building for people who speak English. I've been creating a full content bundle about JavaScript strings, where I'll teach you the most powerful feature of JavaScript to handle big loads of data. You're learning that about both web streams and Node.js streams. The link is also here in the video description. Take a look at the course grid. I think you're gonna enjoy it. In case you wanna be notified about all new content I produced, I invite you to join our Telegram channel. I love seeing how Node.js has been evolving so fast and how many popular packages are becoming part of the runtime. Tell me here in the comments what you wish the Node.js test runner would have in the future and what you liked most from this class. Ufa, I hope you found this class useful, and don't forget to check the content in English playlist here in the channel. I've been building a lot of new content and I'm sure you're gonna like it. Comment below what you wanna see in the next videos, and please send this video to all people at your work, your friends, and your study groups that I'm sure it can inspire them as well. I hope this content has exceeded your expectations. I'm Eric Wendell, and I'll see you on the next video. In this video, you catch up on the new functions. In this video, you catch up on the new functions for the native. In this video, you catch up on the new functions for native. You're gonna build an application to emulate. Some operations on database in which we are gonna build an application to emulate. Calling was the one who created the first proof of concepts. So I closed my pull request and I approved his. And how many popular packages are becoming